Joy Curtis, and you're listening to the Movie Rage Show.
It's time for the movie raid, and tonight's victim is actress Joy Curtis, that played in Bigfoot and the upcoming fan-made film Friday the 13th Vengeance. Hello.
Hello.
What have we been up to aside from this Friday the 13th Vengeance project we've been doing lately?
A film called Lost. That's where I played a woman who had Alzheimer's, and I was the lead in that, and starting to realize what's going on with her and how she's losing her memory. But I mean, it's really tough. That was a hard role, really emotional role. And then before that, I did Mixed Blood, which is on Amazon Prime now for free, and I play kind of a clueless mother that turns into a vampire. Anyway, it's a comedy horror film, and there are supposed to be more episodes to follow. It was really fun, though.
Which genres do you think creative acting is best used for?
I think all of them, really. I think they all contribute to something.
Oh, I definitely agree, but there are like some areas of each genre that you're more flexible in terms of creating with a character and in terms of the storyline, and then there are other genres that just simply, it's like, well, it's just pretty much straightforward, but I mean, it does pay off in the end.
It does, but you know, you really have to do what is written in the script, unless you're doing an improvisational film, which I have done before too, where you make up all the lines, and that's really, you have to think on your toes. That's really hard. But you know, in independent films, or you know, smaller budget films, you can't do like 100 takes. You know, they really only have time for 2 or 3, and then they want to move on. So you have to be really concentrated and together during each take.
Do you think being comfortable shouldn't heavily be implied when doing a role? Basically being too comfortable for it?
No, I think you need to be comfortable in all the work that you've done before. So if you've done all your character work before, you will have all of the facets of the character. And so that's a certain amount of comfort, right? It's always still you, but the character's life becomes alive in your own personality, and then you're comfortable. Then you can improv. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to if you were just going to stick to the lines and had created some kind of cardboard character. So no, I think being relaxed and able to think on your feet is important.
I would imagine that in some actors, I mean, you kind of need that a little bit to kind of jumpstart on some of these.
Yes and no. So especially if it's an emotional role, you kind of keep picking at that scab or whatever it is that is making you emotional. So in that way, you are not comfortable. I don't mean to say that you're relaxed and kind of blasé. I don't mean that. I just mean that you're comfortable with all the work that you've done, and you know that the character is there.
What can be the kickstart of the creative process of a character, and what do you think can interrupt it?
Part of the problem is interrupt it. You show up on a set with people that you've never met and you haven't ever acted for, and you have to make a relationship with them. Pretty instantaneous. Some of the things I do to take care of that is, like, I will know everything I can about the character, their whole life. I mean, I try and build their story from what I can glean from the script. And then I also journal, so can do like 5 minutes of them talking to the other character, or 2 or 3 in the script, and you're writing to them, talking to them. In this one workshop I did, I was a mother, and I was not a very nice mother. My daughter was an alcoholic. I was taking her kid away from her, but I was a recovering alcoholic, and I was just mean to her the whole time in my journals and when we would meet. And eventually, though, I found out where I loved her, and that was a big deal, that I could tell her I loved her. And I only wanted the best for her, but I wanted better for my granddaughter than what she was getting. That's how I approach a role. And if you can go out to lunch with your script buddy and play your characters that way, it's amazing. As if you're in character. It's really amazing. So then all that work is there when you go to the set. Confidence that you know you can deliver what you need to.
Yes, confidence is a huge importance in a role. I mean, it's just sometimes you can be rushed into a lot of things, and sometimes you might even forget how to be confident about that because you're just so focused on trying to just get those lines out there, and it's kind of problematic when a lot of actors do that. They just get it out there, but then that can just ruin the role itself because it'll seem, well, fake.
Well, again, you'll usually end up on the cutting room floor, but sometimes you see some bad acting for sure.
Anticipating with Friday the 13th Vengeance, what concerns do you hope to eliminate with your character and its involvement?
Part I play is Grandma Abigail Jarvis, and so she is the grandmother of the part that Corey Feldman played, which is Thomas Jarvis, and then he has 2 daughters. So Abigail is old, and she's very feisty. She's pretty sassy, but she has a past that led to setting some of these things in motion with Friday the 13th Vengeance. And that will be explained in the film, so that's pretty exciting because I have my whole past right there. Grandmother who has cats and kind of a stinky house. There's a little bit of comedy there.
Well, that's awesome though, because of course Friday the 13th is all serious slasher and teenagers this and that. I mean, but with this project,
well, it is, yes, but my part isn't so much that way.
Yeah, that's good too, because I mean I like how this kind of strays away a little bit from the traditional route. Do you think, without giving away anything, do you think this particular film takes away the whole traditional feel? You think this is actually a new chapter that people are going to go, wow, what? I've never even experienced this kind of thing, like a whole new experience?
No, I think well, maybe so, but it also draws heavily from the past. I mean, the really good Friday the 13th films. There's a lot of Jason's past in there, but this is like, 30 years later or so. So things have changed somewhat. And so that's kind of a new look on Friday the 13th because it's 30 years later. So in that way, yes, it's modernized, but there's flashbacks, and that is very true to the originals.
Yeah, I've always enjoyed that too, actually. I love that continuance in a way. Like, it was so cool because, like, every time they released an actual sequel, they were like, oh, cool, where we left off. We expect what it is, but I think it's really cool the fact that this is a continuance from the original stuff. I thought it was just really cool the fact that, okay, what's Jason, like, where's he at now? What's going to happen now? And it introduces new characters. I mean, how do you really approach with this project? I mean, what would you really want to do this type of role? Like, was this something, do you think this is a new one thing for you? Or is this something you're so comfortable with, like, you just thought it would be really fun to do?
I haven't had it that long, but I did enjoy the audition process. The first audition, I did not do it the way the director wanted me to. And so he kind of gave me some notes already before I even got the part. And so I re-auditioned and made it a little different. I'm pretty excited to work with him since he already gave me that chance, and then I got the role. Horror, I've done a lot of horror films. The Pacific Northwest really likes them. But this is a little different. She's kind of the comedy relief. It's a little different, and actually comedy is my favorite.
So you're like the opposite version of When Jason Lives. The old guy that redigs the grave or puts the grave back, and he goes, some people just, with sixth sense of humor when he looks at the camera when he's not really looking at the camera.
I don't remember that. I'm sorry.
You gotta go watch it. It's pretty funny. It's like they just don't understand. It's just great. You gotta see it.
I'll have to watch that again.
You totally
I watched a few of the movies before I auditioned. I'm afraid to watch horror usually.
That makes the role even better because you're so terrified about these horror films, and you watch yourself. Oh my God! Okay, boom! It's genuine. See, you're not acting anymore. You're really scared.
Well, I'm quite the screamer, so yes, even when I'm not in the film. What was that Evil Dead that was kind of funny? It was funny, but also really bloody and gross. And I do love that film.
Oh, we got a couple fan questions for you. Kimberly Ryan, what has been your favorite role in your film career?
Oh, usually it's the one I'm working on. And also, sometimes what you're shooting is harder, and then when you see it on film, you like it better, or vice versa. I think it might have been my very first big part, which was back quite a while. It was just so exciting. It was so exciting. So that would have been Enter the Bassett, which was a takeoff on Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon. So I think that was my favorite. It was kind of based off of my life, too. And it was a comedy.
Alexi Angelino, what are your acting goals for this year?
Oh, well, I haven't done them yet. No, I've been thinking about them. So one goal from last year was to find a manager. And I did find a manager, and it was in the oddest way. We just started being friends on Facebook. I started sending out things from their film because I thought it was going to be cool, and pretty soon they started looking at me, and then they saw a video on Facebook, and then they had me audition. Not only did I get the part, but I got a manager, which I wanted. So that's one goal already achieved. But last year I also wanted to do like a national commercial, because I just want to do a national commercial, and I didn't get one. I tried out for several, but I didn't get it, so I'm still trying that. And then there's, just the regular things that you need to update your resume, you need to get a new headshot, and also you need to find a good place to work on your craft. So I'm always looking at classes and workshops and things where I can practice my craft, because you get rusty. So those are the only two, I already did one goal, so I guess the commercial is the only other one. And then I always just want to act as much as I can. And another thing I would like to do is maybe do some out-of-town work, because there's not a lot here.
So you ever thought of expanding a little bit further out from where you're at right now?
Yes, always. But it's hard because union wages, or where they want to pay people, they want them from the place they're shooting at, so they don't have to pay for travel and lodging. But, a lot of films do. And I would really like to do that. And now that people do self-tapes, they can tape themselves as an audition and then submit it. That makes it easier to audition for out-of-town parts. So I'm hopeful that I'll get to do some. I was cast in something in Alaska, but again, they didn't have the budget for me to travel.
Well, go ahead and plug in anything that you want to plug in, like websites, release dates, or any past projects that has been recently released, or anything that is going to be released on DVD and so forth. And of course, tell us a little bit more about Friday the 13th Vengeance one more time.
So I would like people that have Amazon Prime and want to watch something free to go see Mixed Blood. It's only like 21 minutes long or something, and they're going to be TV episodes, and there'll be more. But it's funny. I think it's good. It's silly good, funny, silly good. And then definitely watch Friday the 13th Vengeance. I think this is a really, really big deal and going to be a great film. Surprising. There's some twists in there.
Very nice. And there you have it. Joy Curtis, that played in Friday the 13th Vengeance, Bigfoot, and so forth. Many others. There you go.
Thanks so much.